appearance of conflict. Does anyone perceive a conflict that he or she would like to disclose at this time? If not, welcome. I'm excited about the work that's going to get done by this subcommittee, and I'm very happy that all of you have shown an interest in it. What I'd like to do is run through the list again and have everybody introduce themselves, state what district they're from, what they do, and I'd be interested, if it's not too much of an invasion of privacy, to find out what it was or what it is about this committee and its prospective work that impelled you to join us. So why don't we start? Let's see, if Walter's not here, we go to Deanna or Dion.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I'm doing this first time I've done it on the iPhone. I'm Dion Fortner. I'm from the 13th Judicial District, which is Smithfield, Johnson County. And I am compelled to serve in this committee because we're going to be talking about things I get asked about by my colleagues probably every month or so, which is, how much time people can take, what their purposes are for taking time, things like that. So I am interested in the concept.
Good. Catherine?
Hey, I'm Catherine Fry. I'm counselor from Wake County, 10th Judicial District. I wanted to be a part of this because I am a big user of secure leave. I'm the only lawyer in my firm, and so secure leave has always been crucial to everything from having a baby to multiple surgeries to all kinds of vacations. And so it's a topic that hits near and dear to my heart as a practitioner.
Very good. Mark, have you come in? Okay, Kevin?
Kevin Kiernan from the 5th District. I'm in a small firm myself, so obviously secured leave does come into play. It is also one that I get asked about a lot within our district. And one of the big issues that I get from our district is the timing as far as having to put it in 90 days and beyond. And that's one of the big interests that I have with the committee or subcommittee, that and the breakdown of the lengths of time.
Very good. Nice to have you with us. Bill Mills?
Bill Mills. I'm from Durham. I think it's still the 14th Judicial District. And I don't have any particular interest in this topic other than I just enjoy meeting with all of y'all.
Well, if your pain threshold is high, welcome aboard. Mel, a man who really needs no introduction.
I'm Mel Wright with the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. I was very much interested when I saw that this was going to be discussed because our commission was very much involved with it when it was adopted. I was very active in the ABA at that time and was invited to go to a couple of states and talk about what we were doing in North Carolina. So if there are problems with it that need to be amended or changed, I was certainly interested in being a part of that discussion.
Good. And Drew?
Yeah, thanks. Good to be with y'all. I'm Drew Erdeshek from the 10th. I'm a lawyer at Pointer Spruill, and my practice is, really trial and appellate litigation. I serve with Mel on the CJCP, and my interest in being here is maybe, I guess, a little different from why I'm here. At the last CJCP meeting, the Chief Justice was asked to add somebody to this subcommittee as sort of a liaison type role, and I found myself volunteered by others. But I'm very glad, and I think the reason that I was volunteered by some others is I was fairly outspoken at the CJCP meeting maybe a year or two ago with the related changes that were made last time to secure leave in favor of those changes based on kind of similar experience, Catherine Fry, that you mentioned of, I remember filing extension motions, so I could have time as a new dad and that kind of thing. So I got plenty of interest in the area, even if I was sort of a involuntary volunteer to begin with. So glad to be with y'all.
Very good. Nice to have you. By the way, by way of explanation, I'm only seeing your picture come up, and because I can't do the gallery, I've got a really old iPad. So are there any officers on this call? I didn't mean to disregard you. I can't see you yet.
Yep, Gordon Colin Willoughby. I'm here just because it is a topic of interest, and I think as the ball goes larger, we really need to figure out ways to be able to accommodate people's changing cultural needs.
Good, Colin. I'm glad you're here. Anyone else? I think I saw Catherine.
Yes, sir. I'm here. I'm just here because I'm interested.
All right. Well, good. Yeah. Anyone else? You
Gordon,
all
this
get a
is
gold
Darren
star for being here.
Gordon, this is Darren Jordan. I'm the reason why this committee got started. I had a law school classmate who's been beating my email down for the last year or so, and another individual who was president of NCAJ who was tired of having his cases set on for trial and not getting any professional courtesy with regards to being able to make those meetings when he was president. So it's my fault. Sorry. Somebody thinks I have some influence. I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, well, Darren, to know you is to love you. I cannot understand why that would be. Anyhow, I'm delighted.
Gordon, it's Alice. I'm here too. I'm just here to make sure you guys get the support you need. Oh, Gordon's locked up. I can't help with that.
Jim, come back.
Jim.
If I'm meeting Peter for the first time, should I wait or kick him out and ask him to rejoin us?
I don't know the answer on that.
I would kick him out probably. And that
Very
yeah,
well,
he
kicked
just
himself out, I
lost.
think. Yeah.
Sorry, the first of many. What would Peter do? Questions today.
That's a loaded question, and I don't know that you want the answer to that.
All right, sorry about that. We did put in Barbara Christie in the call. She just joined us.
Maybe that's a violation of the technology feature that Gordon doesn't have a iPad that'll work.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I just sent him a, oh, there we go.
You're muted, Jim.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I apologize for that. I think very soon I'm going to appoint a vice chair. So when this happens, the meeting can progress. I'm sure it's my imaginary divorcee wife that's doing this to me today. I'll have to have a conversation with Leanne. Anyhow, as I was saying, our focus is going to be the Rule 26 of the General Rules of Court and Appellate Rule 33.1. As I've more recently discovered, there are local rules that deal with with secure leave as well. Most of those are just to help coordinate the policies of Rule 26 and 33.1, but we might be doing a little thinking outside the box for this. In any event, on the agenda, I thought we might want to start with the results of the internal poll we took of people who are on the committee. Savannah, may I call on you to discuss that, present what happened? Each of you who got a package with the agenda, that the results of that survey are attached to it. Savannah, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so thank you guys for responding to the short little survey that I sent around, just to give us an idea as the staff attorneys that are helping, and Gordon as the chair, an idea about what your experiences have been with secured leave. So I have 6 responses that I'm going off of. And the top reasons for those 6 participants in the survey for what you have used secured leave designations for were vacation time, or the births or adoptions for your children, and elective surgeries. The other options that were sent around, like CLEs or pro bono opportunities, or just things that you've got to do around your office. A couple of y'all chose some of those, but the big reasons were vacation time. All 6 clicked on that. And then births and adoptions, we had 4 participants say that they had used secured leave for that before. I had asked in that survey how user-friendly y'all think the current designation process is. And the average rating that came back, I asked for a 1 to 5, was 3.6. So it doesn't seem too terribly difficult or to use for everyone. And really the most important question, I think, for us was, what aspects do the people who responded to the survey believe should be changed about secured leave policies that are already in place? All 6 people that responded to the survey said that the secured leave period, which is right now defined as just 1 calendar week, was something that they wanted this committee to study and discuss. 5 indicated that the advance notice requirement, which is 90 days right now, should be discussed. And then 3, so half of the people who responded indicated that they wanted to discuss the number of secured leave periods which is available. A couple individuals have had a reason to designate or attempt to designate secured leave from a federal court or administrative agency, and indicated that they tried to get secured leave from federal court, but those are listed. And another indicated that in the bankruptcy court for the Eastern District, it was fine. It operated the same way that North Carolina. And then only one of the responses that we got actually indicated that they had seen or they have observed or reliably suspected that an attorney might be abusing the current policies. And to describe that, it was just, they might have heard rumblings that someone was seemingly always on secured leave, or they had seen that attorneys were commonly only asking for 1 to 2 days to complete CLE instead of the definition of secured leave period. So that's okay. What the results were of that survey.
It was a small sample, but I thought it would be interesting to see what we had. Are you getting a feedback from my video? I'm getting it somewhere. Anyhow, does anyone have any questions for Savannah? Okay, if not, let's go to the next item on this first agenda. And I think we need to start with identifying potential areas for assessment. And there are a few thoughts listed, at the end of which, on page 2, is additions and deletions. Some of these may not be worthy of pursuit. Others may be just fine. So why don't we go through these now and then just read them out. How well are the current secure leave rules working? The question is that worthy of assessment to see how they are working in the eyes of those who use it or would use it if it were tweaked some? The second one, in what respects can the current secure leave rules be improved? Third, and we always have to consider the other side of the equation. What adverse impacts do the current secure leave rules have on our state trial and appellate courts? Then, is there a rationale for extending secure leave to practitioners before administrative agencies? A lot of litigation goes on before them as well. Would anyone like to add some areas for exploration and assessment?
I'd be interested in knowing, Mel can answer this, if there's ever been a survey of the lawyers about how they're using their secured leave and in the history of the secured leave policy. You're muted, Mel.
Not to my knowledge, and this was the first that I had seen where there was interest in changing or amending the rule, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to be involved, because it has been an important rule for most of our lawyers. But if there's a certain group or a certain type of issue that is not being properly covered, then hopefully we can change that to make it so that everybody benefits from it.
So, Savannah, are you planning on taking the survey that you've done and sending it out to the attorneys, or what's the plan on that?
So this was just a survey that Cameron and I put together with Gordon for this subcommittee. But if we think it would be helpful to send it to the council and get an idea from the council, or a bigger sampling of lawyers, we can send it to whomever. It's as simple as a link once we get a group of email addresses together.
I think that would be, in my estimate, it's good to find out if there is a problem. I mean, I think we've got a representative sample who think that there is some tweaks that could be made, but before we fix anything, let's make sure we have a problem. And so I think a survey, whether we send it, whether we want to piecemeal it out to, maybe the council, and then, maybe let some of the other agencies like NCAJ survey the attorneys if we decide that we don't want to do it on a, every lawyer in North Carolina deal. But I'd like to see how people are using it. I mean, I'm sort of the same opinion. We have people that I think abuse it. And we have people who I think don't get enough of it. I mean, they need to use it. And I think the key to any change that we make, and I think based on my times that I've had conversations with Chief Justice Newby and the other justices, I think we're going to have to craft this in a way that this is about mental health, not necessarily about giving somebody a vacation. Vacations are nice, times away from parents or from with your kids is nice, but this is about a mental health issue, and I think we need to craft it into the LAP program. So,
very good. Are there any other suggestions for either tools for assessment or topics?
Gordon, the only thing I would say is that if we're going to send out another survey, which I think is an excellent idea, that we reach to a diverse population. No offense to the council, but I mean, I think that, sending it out to the NCBA small firm, the advocates, some of the other groups that are either different practice areas or even the young lawyers, I'd be really interested to hear what they had to say and what their impressions are about secure leave. I think sometimes we don't think of them as maybe needing it, but if we're going to approach this through the lens of a mental health issue, I'd be interested to hear what they have to say.
Okay, good idea. Any others? Are there anything that was on the initial list that the group feels is beyond the purview of what this committee should be doing? Because we can always delete it. Okay, so we're gonna add survey and getting input from all areas that we might suspect that we have people that would be interested in the program. And I guess if you go down to the very next two topics, what you will find is, let's skip identification of stakeholders and go down. This is actually on the agenda to discuss. So Darren, I am happy that you're putting in a word for it. The discussion topic is refine the survey and send to all members, and discussion of pros and cons. We've heard a little bit of that already. Is the subcommittee in full support of data gathering through a survey or other tools in order to help inform us as to the assessments that we'll be needing to make? Anybody disagree with that? Okay, I'll take that as that there appears to be a consensus. That's a good idea. I would like to ask for 3 volunteers to work on a little subgroup with Savannah and Cameron to prepare, first of all, to choose what kind of survey is run and make a recommendation, or what the possibilities are, and then work a little bit on the wording of the areas of interest, the questions, and that kind of thing. So I'm taking names. Any volunteers?
I'll do it, Gordon.
Thank you, Catherine.
I'm happy to join in on it too.
All right, Darren. One more.
I'll help out.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Kevin. All right, good. All right, now going back up to identification of stakeholders. You know, there are a lot of people that would be interested in this topic. Mel, there's a long list here, and you and Drew have been through this before, but there should be certain places where we can solicit information, have discussions, get input that would be helpful to what we're looking at, both in terms of assessing the current effectiveness of the program and trying to identify ways to make it better, or ways to, if it's having adverse impacts out there, that they'll be the first to tell us. Mel, not to put you on the spot, but going down that list, are there some sources that you would say would be helpful and others that would not be so helpful, that we might be able to start to winnow the number of people we can contact?
One area that I was interested in was whether or not people who were interested in amending or changing were interested in only, for example, 2 days instead of a full week, but still keeping the total number of days, so that in effect, if they chose a Thursday and Friday to be off and secured, then instead of 3 weeks, they might stretch that into 7 weeks or 5 weeks or something like that. And I wondered, one of the things I was wondering about was whether or not there was any movement afoot for that. And if so, I think we really need to look at it and talk about it as to how it would benefit or hurt the situation if somebody was trying to abuse it by getting more days. And it might enable them to block certain trial times that a court would want to set something. So that was one of the things I was interested in discussing with people to find out about.
I agreed that I imagine that's going to come up very early for substantive discussion, maybe as early as the very next meeting we have.
Right.
Is there any sense that we need to reach out to any of these other organizations, some of which, of course, have fellow lawyers and who avail themselves of the policy, and others of which might be considered the natural enemies of the policy,
Right.
Like trial court coordinator trying to keep courts going. So
Right.
we I don't know. This is all part of the brainstorming from 10,000 feet. And if this group thinks that it's beyond the purview to contact any of these people and ask them about whether there's their constituents, be they governmental or private, would take a position on any of these, we may want to hear from them.
Absolutely. And I'd be interested to hear if any of the judges or judges' organizations would want to be heard because they deal with it, if they in any way felt that anybody was trying to abuse it or not.
I think we ought to consider maybe asking Barbara if she would be willing to appoint maybe somebody from those stakeholders to this committee, because we need, it's one thing to be invited to YouTube this, but it's another thing to have a voice at the table. And so I think if we could get a representative from a district court judge, a superior court judge, and even a trial court administrator, I think that would be a positive thing for us to at least get a full taste of what we're looking at.
Yeah, I agree.
Me too.
Okay.
Great idea.
Okay, so we've got judges and judges, TCA. Any others? Colin, from the district attorney's standpoint, has there ever been any issue with this?
There are, and it sort of depends on culturally from district to district. Some they get along very well and it gets resolved easily. Some it doesn't. But to Darren's point about the judges, I think it may be good to have both somebody from a district and superior court perspective. I mean, superior court, if you take 2 days out of a week, that may, and you're in a small district that gets one session of court every 60 or 90 days, having somebody be unavailable for a couple days in the week may foreclose the possibility of trying a case. Where in district court, you may be much more flexible. But it's probably good to get both of those perspectives. And ultimately, I think we have to, whatever we draft, a judge has to have some supervisory authority over it to decide if folks are being reasonable or not in their exercise of this prerogative.
All right.
I think
So,
Mel would agree
judges-
too, just based on his, and I'm not going to speak for Mel, but just my contact with the Chief Justice, I think stakeholders are very important to the Chief Justice. And I think if you exclude somebody not willingly, but just out of omission, I think the buy-in for the Chief Justice is going to be that everybody has some understanding of what's going on. So.
Yeah. Good. Any mental health stakeholders that should be a part of the conversation?
I think a person from the LAP board probably wouldn't be bad. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a counselor. I mean, they've got volunteers, clinicians, and counselors that make up the LAP board.
Okay. All right. Any other stakeholders that should make the first cut? Any that shouldn't make the first cut?
So this is certainly much lower down on the list, but it might make sense to have to even just get quick input from the Appellate Rules Committee, just because we've got Appellate Rule 33.1, that would at least likely be getting changed here too. I think the Supreme Court would probably look to the Appellate Rules Committee for its views before it made a change to those rules. In the short term, that's easy. I'm the chair of that committee for another 2 months, and so I don't know if there's a need to formally reach out or anything. But once I'm done, thank goodness, in another 2 months here, Justice Barbara Jackson's going to take over, and I can coordinate with her and just make sure that we get input from the Appellate Rules crowd.
Okay. An excellent idea. Others? All right. Well, I have Superior Court judges, district court judges, TCAs, LAP board. Any one of these that's left off at this time that has been discussed today that I didn't write down?
Sorry to add one more suggestion here, sort of amplifying Darren's thoughts about getting judicial input on this. I wonder if we want one of the ALJs from OAH or some administrative law practitioners to give input on this, if we're going to think about maybe expanding those to administrative practice too. Just a thought.
Well, I think we need to make the inquiry whether the need is there. There's a lot that happens. That's just in terms of pure dispositions, there's a lot going on. And there are people who spend most of their practice lives dealing with administrative law and may not be getting the same kind of benefit that this program or this policy has brought to some of their other fellow lawyers. I'm going to put that down. Okay. All right. Any other stakeholder that someone wants to nominate for the shorter list? All right, hearing none, then we'll make a focus there before the next meeting. We've discussed the survey, and there's a is a going to be a little working group there. Now, something else that in talking with Cameron and Savannah, we thought might be of interest is to try to canvass other jurisdictions to see what they do for secure leave. And Cameron, I think, did the first little part of looking and seeing where that kind of data may be kept. Cameron, you want to mention what you've done and what you think is going to be necessary to bring that about?
Sure. Well, we did start sort of sifting through various state and local rules. We've discovered, for example, that Tennessee tends to leave attorney leave policies to the local districts, whereas Georgia has uniform rules at every level of court. And it occurred to us the other day that rather than sort of, go out there and dig this up, we had a really great resource at our disposal that would potentially allow us to let the information come to us. We have access to the National Organization of Bar Councils listserv, and that's an organization made up of basically, disciplinary attorneys from all the state jurisdictions in the United States, and I believe several of the territories as well. And we were thinking that we could sort of refine a question and send it out on the NOBC listserv, and that we might be able to get some pretty good information that way. And so we discussed sort of Savannah and I crafting that inquiry together and then sending it out on Monday. And we figured that by the end of the week, we'd probably have a pretty good survey of local leave policies. And so that's where we stand as far as, that task.
Very innovative. That's good. Does anyone on the subcommittee think this is a bad idea or should be approached differently? If not, I'll take that as consensus that Cameron and Savannah should proceed forward and bring back information. That could be very helpful in seeing what other jurisdictions do, particularly if they're sister jurisdictions. Anything else on that, Cameron?
I just wanted to make sure that I gave credit where credit was due. I'm so dense that I was ready to sit down and go through every local set of local rules from every judicial district in Tennessee. And then Savannah was like, why don't we just reach out to the NOBC? So I want to make sure that she gets credit for that idea.
All right. Catherine, Savannah gets the pay raise this year. All right. Now, in terms of how we proceed, and I'm completely open to what the comfort of the committee members are, but I think we need to set up an expectation as to how we work and when we want to be making our report to the issues committee, which in turn I believe will, if it finds favor with the quality of our work, will report it forward to the full council. My suggestion to get it done in this program year is to do assessment work in 3 more meetings, April, May, and June, and maybe hold an additional subcommittee meeting just before the council meeting next month, and then do May and June Zoom meetings to continue the assessment work, trying to find out everything we need to know about what people think about how the policy is currently working, what others are doing, and what the possibilities are. And then if we have a July meeting, potentially in person, those counselors in Asheville, no pressure, Catherine. It's start the refinements and solutions mode where if we're going to make a recommendation about anything, we get it in the right language and back it up and point toward a completion of our report by September and present it by mid-September to the issues committee so they can decide what they want to do with it at the forthcoming October meeting. First of all, is there anyone who thinks this schedule is too hard, too quick? or whether it's about right or not busy enough. I mean, there's a lot to be looked at here, but I think with a whole half a year to work on this, we probably can get that work done, and then present it to the Issues Committee in our last regular meeting of the council's year.
Mel,
So I'll be happy to take suggestions, or we'll modify this in any way. Darren,
yeah, I was wondering if Mel or Drew could tell us when the Chief Justice Commission meets, have their quarterly meetings, because I think it would be interesting to get some feedback from them, from updates from our committee, from our subcommittee.
Yeah, we meet at the same time the state bar meets.
Okay.
It's the same on, usually it's a Friday when y'all met that week. So it wouldn't be hard at all to come together for a meeting.
I just think it would be interesting to get some, as this committee meets and makes progress, if an update can be given to your commission, and then we get some feedback from them of whether we're off the rails or, are we on the tracks or what? So.
Sure. Yeah, well, we'll be glad to work with you any way you'd like for us to.
all right. Any suggestions for changing the prospective intervals between meetings, basically monthly from here on out, by Zoom, except for the possibility of July? And why don't we do that? Can we take some a little bit of time and see, has everybody got their calendars with them for April?
Yep.
The State Bar Quarterly meeting begins April 13. Is there a common time during the week of April 5 that everybody be available for an hour's Zoom meeting, if that much? Anybody that cannot do it on a given day, let's put it that way. Let's start with those who are tied up.
The 9th is really, really bad. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm out the 8th and the 5th and the 6th. They're the tail end of spring break.
Okay.
I'm out on Thursday and Friday, the 8th and 9th.
Okay. Well, that's not working out too well.
What about the 7th?
So has anybody said anything about the 5th?
Hey, Gordon, I can't do the 5th. I certainly don't want to be a holdup, but did anyone have an issue with the 7th, that Wednesday?
I don't know how essential staff council are to proceedings, but I've got a DHC hearing scheduled for the 6th, 7th, and 8th of that week. Sorry, Catherine.
Yeah. What about March 31 or April 1? Let's go backwards. Or maybe I should say April 12. I know some people will be already involved in some activities that begin the week before.
I don't have the schedule for the bar council pulled up. I don't know what kind of meetings. I think just grievance that day, probably.
Grievance is on the 13th.
Grievance, the grievance sub 1 is Monday, 9 o'clock, and then the afternoon.
Oh, Monday? Oh, I'm
administrative,
sorry.
legislative, and publications at 2, 3, and 4.
We got a full slate on that day, then.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That's right. That's the old school calendar. They would start grievance on at very different times. Sorry, my bad.
Gordon, this is Allison. Yeah, the council meeting week is pretty booked up just about every day.
Okay.
Yeah, and looking at your committee members and the officers, I don't think there's really any gaps in there where we could slip in this meeting. I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. Yeah. Go back to that March 31, April 1 timeframe.
April 1 looks good.
All right. Which date did you say, Darren?
April 1 looks fine. We might want to just let, it probably might be easier to let Cameron or Savannah run one of those survey monkeys and pick out some dates and let us do it that way, Gordon. This is going to be difficult to get everybody sort of, but I think it's going to have to be that week of the 29th probably if we're going to do it.
Yeah. All right.
Spring break is, I guess, that following week, which was Easter Monday. So.
Yeah. Well, that following week looks like it's very popular for a lot of good reasons. But if does anyone have a conflict with April 1? It's on this call.
No.
Anybody? Well, why don't we mark that, pencil that in, and from this point forward, Darren, I will follow your suggestion on that. Because that's probably the best way to do it. But right, since we've gone this far and nobody's got a conflict on that day, then we'll hopefully not do a symbolic gesture and do something rash on April 1st. Okay. All right, we'll mark that on your calendars and we'll get the rest of it out in advance of that meeting. Next steps. Are there any specific requests of staff council before our next meeting? We know some of the projects they're working on. Okay. As far as homework assignments, the gang of 3 will be working on the survey outreach proposal. Anything else? Is there anything else that you want to bring before the group before we adjourn?
Gordon, I wanted to ask, what is the timeline that you want us to work with Barbara to find someone from these different stakeholders to participate in the committee? Do you want that by our next meeting? Or do you want them to begin participating if they'll accept that invitation by May?
I think if we have them, again, if the committee feels differently about it, let me know. I think if we have those persons identified and contacted before May, the May meeting, then we can squeeze all their wisdom out over a 2-month period and still stay on course. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else that you want to bring before the committee today? Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of you for this. I'm glad you're interested in this topic. I sure am. Mel, I really appreciate your being here with us. It's you and Drew have been through this before, and you're going to be great help to us along the way. So if there's nothing else before the group, then I bid you all adieu. Meeting adjourned, and we'll talk again at a time set, to be set on April the 1st. In the meantime, everybody get your shots.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Gordon. Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, Cameron.
Good job, you guys.
Good job. Great job. Great job. It's going to be a little bigger project than I imagined, but it should be interesting. you should learn some stuff along the way. So let me know if I can help in any way.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Ann.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend.